Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Independent Senator Adrian Auger says the country cannot afford to implement a national shutdown to deal with the COVID-19 spread. He says, to put it frankly, the country cannot be broker than the government already says it is. The lives over livelihoods debate rages on amid the COVID-19 response with rapidly increasing case numbers. Prime Minister Alan Shastny has made it abundantly clear that a national lockdown is not an option that he even wants to consider at this point. Independent Senator Adrian Auger agrees that the option is not at all favorable.
We cannot continue to choose life over livelihoods. We can be healthy and still starve. We have to pay bills, we have to maintain jobs, we have to keep the economy running, we have to keep people fed and housed and clothed. And the only way for us to do that, because we don't have some big pool of resources out there that we can just draw on. So the only thing that we can do is to do the necessary things so that we can stay safe together. I don't think that shutting down the country is an option right now, because we'll go even more broke than we say we are broke already. And so we need to see how we can keep the economy turning over, where the new initiatives need to come from.
Auger notes the handling of the COVID-19 response so far has been too focused on state regulations as opposed to messaging to change attitudes. He says the focus should be on getting people to understand the importance of their individual actions and to appreciate the need for collaborative responsibility.
I think in hindsight that there has been an emphasis on control and regulation, which needs to now be altered into a policy of encouragement, responsibility, shared responsibility. The government took on the role of controller, of regulator, and while there are certain functions that require that kind of authoritative positioning, I think that the current situation clearly shows us that the big stick, the law, the right to do this and the right to do that is of absolutely no use whatsoever.
He says months into this crisis, it would simply be disastrous if a national lockdown were to be implemented.
We go to mandatory lockdown right now. The tourism industry, which like it or not like it, is the magnet for growth right now, is the magnet for survival. If we lock down, then we are going to lose another chunk of business, which is going to affect not only 2020 but 2021, because
the senator says the country at this point needs to consider all its options and determine the best sustainable long-term solutions. This, he says, requires broad participation and openness to ideas. He stresses that government cannot exclude anyone from that conversation. Castries South MP Dr. Ernest Tilley has confirmed to the media that the vehicle, which has been at the center of a back and forth for a number of years, stemming from his days as St. Lucia's High Commissioner to the UK, has been detained. However, Dr. Hilaire says this is not the end of the saga and that he will be headed to the courts to fight it out. On the other hand, he is calling for focus to be placed on more relevant areas rather than his luxury vehicle. Rochelle Gonzalez reports.
The ongoing was it legal, was it fraud saga between the Customs Department and the former St. Lucia's High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Dr. Ernest Hilaire, has taken a new twist. After daring Customs to take his vehicle for months on end, on Thursday night, the department did just that and detained it. On Friday morning, Dr. Hilaire released an audio statement confirming the vehicle's detention and explained that the fight is not yet lost.
They indicated that they were detaining the vehicle. It was not a seizure, as then detain why and how, and they indicated it was pending an inquiry. Of course, when asked to explain, they said it was an inquiry into improper importation. I am not sure what that means or why that issue has now come up, because all the exchange of letters with the controller centered around he arguing that I had not given him a copy of a supplier's commercial invoice. Of course, I've placed the matter in the hands of my lawyers. We've always said that the moment they take the vehicle, we will go to the courts and we will expose the stupidity of what they were doing. But even more than that, the abuse of public office, the malfeasance in office, and the maliciousness and vindictiveness of this government.
Dr. Hilaire said he has confidence in the system and his lawyers, and he is sure that the matter will be dealt with. Meanwhile, he said there are more pressing matters that the government should be focusing their attention towards rather than his vehicle.
We are extremely concerned about the widespread incidence of COVID-19 in St. Lucia. We're concerned about the level of crime in St. Lucia. We're concerned about the situation facing school children, those who don't have devices and cannot do online learning. We're concerned about the parents who are not at work, not receiving any relief and support, and have to cater for the children. There are major issues in this country that is causing psychological stress. We have workers who are fired at hotels, and people are frustrated and facing severe hardship in this country. And for us, these are the more important issues that any government should be focused on dealing with now, and not, being vindictive and fighting political battles using and abusing state institutions.
Dr. Hilaire said the St. Lucia Labour Party will continue to focus on representing the people of St. Lucia and holding the government accountable for their shortcomings. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
Thank you, Rochelle. Two members of the Senate were drawn into a war of words on Thursday as they debated inside the House of Assembly. The matter at hand was the conviction by the leader of government business that the recent spike in COVID-19 cases was directly linked to an SLP rally that took place on the 4th of October. Senator Gideon Ferdinand was having none of it. Nisha Charles reports.
The St. Lucia Labour Party held a protest march on October 4 to demonstrate its dissatisfaction with several policy decisions being pursued by the present administration. Hundreds gathered in protest that day with permission from the Commissioner of Police. Members of the public have openly expressed that the march was a bad idea amidst the COVID-19 pandemic and called out the opposition SLP for making what they claim to be a careless move. 6 days later, on October 10, the island recorded its 29th case of COVID-19, which sparked the country's second wave of transmission. In the Senate on Thursday, Health Minister Mary Isaac made a direct link between the two. Leader of the opposition business, Gideon Ferdinand, was having none of it.
Madam President, it is a duck. And we can make a direct correlation. The Ministry of Health can make a direct correlation. This is not heresy. The correlation between community spread and that match is very, very high.
Madam
Very
President,
positive.
I rise on a point of order. I believe that earlier on,
What's the point of order, Senator?
37.5, Madam President, the member is imputing improper motives, and I'm referring to a previous attempt to correlate the march. And in this case, I will have to include myself as a member of the House who was a part of the march. And she is attempting to make a correlation, as she did earlier, and you intervene in her rebuttal this time. Now, I believe she's trying to use, to change the wording, but the message is the same. Correlation is understood, march is understood, and COVID community spike. I think earlier on, Madam President, you did intervene, but I see the Minister of Health, the Honorable Senator, being very irresponsible to attempt to do that again. And I will not sit there and allow that to continue, Madam President. I think it is irresponsible, and it is gross misconduct in the Honorable House.
Health Minister Mary Isaac was not backing down.
The Ministry of Health is working too hard. The frontline workers, Madam President, are working too hard for us to wash away all the gains that they had made up to that point. And today, Madam President, our hospitals are overflowing. The respiratory hospital is full. We have moved to Turning Point. We are requesting money every time we come here because we need to finance the efforts that some people are jeopardizing by their actions every day. Madam President, we are being called irresponsible by making those statements. But it is the opposition that was irresponsible to have a match during a COVID pandemic.
For the Hot 7 News, Nisha Charles reporting.
On the 10th of November, the Ministry of Health announced that St. Lucia had recorded 2 COVID-19 related deaths. To date, there are 112 active cases. Given the newest developments, members of the public shared their growing concerns about the spike in COVID-19 cases on island.
St. Lucia has recorded 2 COVID-19 related deaths. So we took to the streets to find out whether the level of concern has increased and how do people feel given that the number of in-country cases continue to increase. Let's hear what they had to say.
Well, I am always concerned, and I will always be concerned, because that is why I preach every day that people should maintain the protocol. The social distancing has disappeared, totally disappeared. If you are to pass in the boulevard where people come and pay bills and shop.
Yeah, we should be concerned because now things are getting serious. So yeah, we should be concerned. People dying already. And just and they're going to tell you they get 10 more cases, 8 more cases. So yeah, man, we should be concerned. Really concerned. Because I died of that. I'm very sorry.
First man that died of the COVID-19, right? That I think that man was in a a machine, as the family said, right? And then it seems to me that while he's on the machine, right, they have to be paying money for that man to be in the machine. Okay? So as they took out the machine from that man, they said he died of COVID-19. How do they show he died of COVID-19 when the man was suffering from some other illnesses, right? Why do they wait? And when they get the autopsy, they say what the man died from.
Everybody have to be concerned, okay? And I having something cold. That is for the COVID, it cure it.
Everything for them to say, the Prime Minister is back door. What about front door? What about the airport? When people pass, how many planes from America come in there? They only talk about back door. What about the front door? When I look at that country now, they said when George Adam was there, this is communist. Now we are in communist now. Well, now we are in communist now.
Yeah, my concern about the COVID-19 thing is because, hear that, St. Lucia only have 2 deaths for the time, right? But everybody need to be concerned. Everybody have to protect themselves because watch before, all right? The Prime Minister did a good thing by locking down the country at a certain time and releasing people at a certain time. We had it under control. All of a sudden, we fall asleep and we saying like, we're gonna let foreigners into our country, right? And they barely getting tested the normal tests they're supposed to be getting to my concern, right? They don't have that.
Yeah, I'm concerned a little bit because I have kids and the school are closed right now and work will be open probably next week, yeah. Yeah, it's alarming right now, but more concerned.
Basically, what people need to understand is the cases are going to rise. No matter what you do, the cases will always rise. We already have the community spread, so people need to stop worrying about a lockdown because the lockdown will change absolutely nothing right now. Basically, if a lockdown, it will just make things even worse. We already have the spread. All we have to do is just accept the fact that we have the spread and just prepare ourselves for the worst.
Maintain the social distancing. Wear your mask, sanitize your hand. That is how we can kill and control the virus.
So the takeaway message is adhere to the measures that have been put in place for our health and safety. Social distancing, washing of hands and mask wearing. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzalez.
The flood detention pond at the George V Park is clogged and many are raising concerns about how this situation could further exacerbate the dengue fever outbreak which has already proved deadly on island. Genevieve Gonzague reports.
Members of the public have voiced their concerns on the clogged flood detention pond in the city of Castries, given that the dengue fever situation in St. Lucia continues to exacerbate.
The proprietor of Faith Electronics on Chaussee Road, Zeno Lovens, says while he ensures that he takes every possible measure to protect himself from being bitten by mosquitoes, he believes a lot more should be done on the part of the authorities. He is expressing concerns about the health of individuals who reside in that community.
Certain times customers would walk inside and they make fuss, and some would make silly little jokes. Oh, my partners you have inside of you, and I have to think of who are my partners. They're referring to the mosquitoes. My concern again is that the neighbors that are there, I'm afraid for them, especially if you have some rebellious people. What I want to say is, take heed. Even if you pay no mind, but just take heed as to damages that can take place, especially the death. in the children. That's the one that's really troubling me. And the elders, you know. So I'm saying that I just want the health department, as I said previously, I don't want to blame them, but I want the health department to go around, open up, and forget the rebellious state of minds of people and play their part. For instance, that pond. In the beginning it worked well, but all of a sudden it's choked and it's as though they played no mind.
A community activist, Timothy James, who was in the area at the time, explained that this is an eyesore in the city and it will take a concerted effort from the community as well as officials for this issue to be remedied.
A number of individuals have passed and seen it, an outrage likewise, but it takes an entire community, this community here, New Village, Lapanse, Georgeville, to realize the impact of this thing on them, on their children. You know what I'm telling you? No matter, we could get change. We have to re-engineer the thinking of communities. Persons passing here with their children coming from in there, they don't see this as an eyesore. We really and truly in this society, we need to reclassify education and literacy, because no educated person with children would tolerate that nonsense.
James went on to add that while members of the public are being drilled and chastised for not adhering to rules and protocols, the authorities have failed to do their part to clean up a huge breeding ground.
Dengue is not pandemic, but basically dengue is an epidemic given the way it is there now. And that person have literally died of dengue. To have this there, dengue breeding pond, you know what I'm telling you, more than 100 feet in length, that is ridiculous. And then the government cannot state that they care. Really and truly, this government really continues to act as if they don't care. The Ministry of Health want to come down on people, the CMO, but yet still you have a breeding ground for mosquitoes.
To date, the island has recorded 4 confirmed dengue deaths.
Reporting from the flood detention pond at the Gardens area, I am Genevieve Gonzaga.
This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Still to come, a shooting in Babono leaves 1 man nursing injuries. A former government employee claims political victimization. And Catherine Seelys reacts to Minister Leonard Montout's revelation that abuse allegations at the Boys Training Center are under investigation.